Okay, well the first thing is that random noise generator was really just a thing I did with a couple of friends of mine. And I started to miss what I used to do when I was younger, which was get together with groups of people, you know, on a very regular basis, like once or twice a week. So in between doing the work with Porcupine Tree, it just so happens that the guy who plays drums, Loz, he has a very, very small rehearsal space. And Loz and Rob, RJ, great mates of mine, and they're great mates of each other. And they had started doing the stuff together themselves, just the two of them. And I just kind of liked it, so I got involved, and then we ended up, I have to say it wasn't a particularly serious project, it was more about just getting together and playing and having fun. And we made the first record very cheaply on a very, very basic kind of recording setup. And it became, because we were working together regularly and playing together regularly, we started to develop a lot more material. But then I just didn't have the time anymore to work with them, because the nature of the music is it involves a lot of kind of rehearsal and it involved spending quite considerable time to actually make, mainly because we weren't particularly serious about it. We used to just kind of have fun and mess around. So it took a long time. We recorded a follow-up album, and then it still hasn't come out. It's still not really finished. But it was great to have a period of about a year, or maybe 2 years, in between every tour with Porcupine Tree. You know, when I was at home 2-3 nights a week, I'd go and see them. More like 2 nights a week. We'd get together and just play and make loads of noise and record a lot of it. So that's really Random Noise Generator, and it's I'm a little bit disappointed that we never did the second album, because I thought the material was quite good to me. No one's heard it but us. But the good news is that the vocalist, Rob, is a very good friend of mine, and I've been working on some more solo material, but I wanted to have, what if I didn't plan anything, but he offered to sing on it, just because I played it to him. And we've ended up working together regularly again, and once again it hasn't come out yet, but I'm hoping next year to put out another solo record, which is more like songs rather than instrumental things like my previous stuff. So we're very much in touch with each other and working, and I'm quite pleased with the results, so fingers crossed next year that will come out, 2015. And XY's Heads with Jeff, that was similar in a way. I met Jeff years ago when I moved to Brighton, which is a town on the coast of England, and it was the same kind of thing. I used to get together with Jeff on a very regular basis, and we would just improvise together. Jeff's a great improviser, and we did a few gigs, and then we had a trio, and to cut a long story short, we made a lot of records together, did a lot of recording, and then Jeff has got very, very busy playing with a group called the Artworld Beats with a couple of the ex-Henry Cow guys, so I haven't seen him for a while. He's been in Japan and he's been doing all sorts of things. So we have yet again a load of unreleased material. And we're still, you know, I'm hoping to see him, but I don't live anywhere near him. When I first met him, we were living very near each other, and he lives maybe 4 hours drive from my house now, so there's a geographical reason as well. But yeah, no, I'm very proud of a lot of the work I've done with Jeff. I mean, he's a fantastic guy, he's a great player. He's really, working with him, he encouraged me to do a lot of things. His approach is very open, so I always enjoy getting together with him. He's a little bit chaotic, and he'll be the first person to admit it. He's a slightly chaotic personality, and between the two of us, I'm actually the more organised one, which is a bit worrying. But between the two of us, we managed to make it work as a duo, and I enjoyed doing the programming and having that responsibility of kind of being the main kind of keeper of the project, and he's the improviser, he's the kind of random element that comes in, so that's the way we seem to have settled on. Yeah, in fact, I knew his music a long time ago. I think the first thing I ever heard was a project called Charged, which he did with a Japanese trumpet player called Toshinori Kondo. And it was an album I used to listen to a lot. And then I met him really through the internet. You know, it was one of those, before MySpace became terrible, you could actually have conversations with people, and it's gone now, that portal of, but it was a great thing for a while. And then Geraldo, I think I met him through, if it wasn't MySpace, it was something similar. And I was actually really into an album he did. Yeah, I can remember now. I was, you know, trawling through MySpace, just looking for interesting things to listen to. And I came across this project called Parched, because Geraldo plays baritone guitar, like a very low-tuned guitar. And he'd made an album with a guy called David Attiso, who's a guitarist as well. A duo album, just two down-tuned guitars, and I really liked it. And I, of course, knew his other stuff, but he's one of these people that's done loads and loads of other things. And he's made ambient records with Harold Budd and Robin Guthrie. He's made some quite heavy stuff, dark stuff. But anyway, we arranged to meet up when I came to Pistoia with Porcupine Tree, and we just hit it off on a personal level. And sometime later, we decided to maybe start working, but it's all very kind of, you know, let's try this sort of thing. And I was very happy that Metallic Taste of Blood came together quite quickly. And I'm quite pleased with the record. I think it's quite original. I was very, you know, there's no sort of obvious influence to it. It's very much a meeting of the four personalities, and everyone on the first album comes from a completely different background. You've got myself, Geraldo doing what he does, then Jamie Saft, who's a marvellous improvising pianist and organ player, and also does some great electronic stuff. And Balázs Pandy, who I didn't know until we started working together, and he's a very intense kind of guy, you know, drummer from Hungary, does a lot of really experimental stuff and lots of kind of grindcore. So we all come from these completely different areas, but I think what we made together was quite good. So we've actually planned to do another record, but we've mixed it up a bit this time. Balázs wasn't really available. He's very busy doing different things. So it's myself and Geraldo and a drummer called Ted Parsons, who lives in Norway, but he's actually American. And he used to be in Prong. People might know him from Prong, Swans, and he was in Killing Joke for a while. And he's done lots of things, lots of dub. And he was a good choice because he's completely different to Balázs. So the new stuff is going to come out, I think it's either May or March, I can't remember. But there's another release coming with myself, Geraldo Bernocchi, Ted Parsons and Roy Power, the keyboard player. Because we played together live on one occasion, and Jamie Saft coming from America just wasn't viable. So it was too logistically difficult to arrange. So Roy came and played with us and did a fantastic job, so we asked him to add some of his keyboards and stuff. But yeah, it's different again from the first one, but I like it that way. Yeah, well, I hope so. I mean, it's difficult with John being in America. So we actually managed to play last month in Chicago as a one-off. We'd really like to make it happen and bring John to Europe, and we're discussing it at the moment, but it kind of depends on us having a viable offer to bring John over, and maybe we can build a few dates around that. It's kind of tricky from that point of view, just geographically, but musically I'm very happy with that. I mean, it was interesting because John really hired me to play on the first record I did with him, which is Dance of the Shadow Planet, so I was just really almost like a session musician is the wrong word, because the music doesn't require like a session job, it required a bit of input from you know, creative input, so. But it was very much his album, and we were playing on it. but I ended up making a lot of suggestions, which I wouldn't normally do, but I felt comfortable enough to kind of contribute creatively a bit more than perhaps I might otherwise have done. And John was very happy with that, so he more or less suggested a bit later that we kind of work together more equally. So that's where Burn Belief, the first one, which we did together more as a partnership. And then etymology is the same again, it's a democratic partnership. So it's been a great collaboration from that point of view. We have a very natural fit together with what we do. I'm quite happy with the way we work. It's very very fast, and same with Lorenzo. Very little discussion. You know, we kind of know what we want and what we want from each other, and there's no arguments. It's just kind of like very natural, I guess. Is the right way.
An example.
Yeah.
Well,
what happened with Obake, it's actually a Japanese word, Obake, so it means spirit or ghost. But it's interesting because Obake, they've always had a problem having a bass player that stuck around long enough to do it. So they had Massimo Pupillo, who I don't know him personally, but I know he's worked with Zoo, the experimental band, which I really like. And I know he played on the first album, and they did the first album. I don't know if they did any gigs with him, but Trevor Dunn played with them for a while. And then they had this guy Bong Ra from Holland. And I remember at one point, Geraldo said to me a few years ago after the first album had come out, "Oh, we'd like you to play bass, but you know, it's another project where you and me are playing together, so maybe it's not a good idea." So I really liked the first record, but I said, I can understand, no, that's fine. And then as it turned out, eventually he kind of more or less said, yeah, you might as well do it. And I really liked the first record, and he played me some mixes. When we got together, it was in January this year, we got together to start working on Metallic Taste of Blood, and he had just been recording a lot of the material, and he played us some of it just while we were setting up in the studio, and I thought, wow, this is great, it's really intense, but I really, really like it. And maybe he remembered my positive comments. So a bit further down the line, you know, he said to me, look, we need someone to do the gigs. Do you want to do the gigs? I said, yeah, I'd love to, you know, I'd love to. It's very intense music, it's a bit different for me, but I like the idea of doing something different. And then I ended up recording, I mean, I'm on the record as well, so I got really involved. It's a really unusual record. It's heavy metal, but it's that term doesn't do it justice. It's very, very intense. It's very unique to me. I mean, the way that Fornasari uses his voice, it's very unique, and there's something quite subconscious about. He calls them non-songs. His vocalizations. They're not really songs in a verse-chorus structure, but there's a definite atmosphere, and it really drew me in. You know, as a listener, the music, I find it's not something that a lot of people are going to love. You know, it's kind of a bit niche, but at the same time, it's so intense that it's impossible to ignore. And I'm really looking forward. I'm coming back to Italy next month and playing with them. The record's had some great reviews, and yeah, I really hope we can do some more. But I didn't plan to join the band. It's another natural. I tend to find one thing leads to another. So, you know, I do something and then somebody will ask me to do something else, and I'm not ringing up saying, can I play on your record? Which is nice. So people are asking me because they like what I do, or they're happy with me being around, which is great. So it works. Well, that's not a question for me. That's a question for Tim. I mean, my input on Tim tends to have a lot of music that he wants to record, and then you never know whether it's going to end up on a No Man album or whatever, or his solo album or anywhere else. So I actually recorded my contributions to the Memories of Machines thing quite a long time before the record came out, and I can't remember. I think I recorded a bunch of stuff, and one of them ended up on the No Man album, and that's just Tim's. I mean, I'm very happy that I got involved with Tim's solo album initially because he asked me to do Henry Ford. So that was another thing. I didn't expect to play on Tim's solo album, but it's he sort of. I wish I could maybe get him to focus a little bit. I think he's been around long enough that he should just concentrate on his solo thing. I mean, I don't find that he is so different when he works with other people. He's got his own identity, and I think perhaps he's kind of perhaps a little bit shy about coming forward. But actually, it works really well when he does come forward, and he's got some great reviews for his solo album, which is well deserved, you know. And he probably should make more of that himself. I haven't said this to him, but that's my feeling. He maybe needs a bit more confidence underneath it all. He likes hiding behind, you know, this project, Memories of Machines, and this project. And actually, it's not too dissimilar. If you know Tim, his stuff is pretty consistently him. But yeah, no, we are probably going to do some work together. I don't know if we're going to do some more recording early next year, and he's planning some gigs, but we'll see what happens. It's another thing, logistically it's quite difficult because he wants to do a 6-piece band, which we did a few gigs in England and it went really well, but it makes it quite expensive to travel and all the rest of it with 6 guys, so we'll see. The first thing I did myself was really just an experiment to see. I deliberately didn't get anybody else involved because I thought, I wonder what I can do on my own, you know, without considering anybody else or even thinking about anybody else. So it was an experiment for me. And then I was always fascinated by spoken word, so I wanted to have the spoken word thing going on. And then the second album, PPZ, was the same thing. I had this idea about this crazy Hungarian author whose work was really, really fascinating to me. He was kind of like William Burroughs, but years before William Burroughs. Fascinating character, bit of a bastard in truth, you know, but had these amazing ideas in his books, psychological stories about very dark subject matter, not the kind of thing that you read much in the early 20th century literature stuff. You know, the subject matter is quite unusual. So those two things were really just me on my own. Endless Tapes is different because it's actually a collaboration with yet another Italian who's a drummer called Alessandro Pedretti. And that was kind of random. He sent me some music and I just really liked what he sent me. I get sent stuff on a fairly regular basis. Sometimes it's great, sometimes I don't have time to do anything. If it interests me, I'll try and work on it, you know, just creatively. But there's something about his approach that I really enjoy. He's a little bit unusual as a drummer. He's definitely a character, and we've actually recorded up. That's yet another set of material that I hope we're going to put out soon. We did some gigs together. We expanded the lineup to a 4-piece, and we did 3 or 4 concerts in Italy earlier this year. It was great, really good. The music's very much like Twinscapes. It's expandable and atmospheric, and it has possibility. So we're working on doing some more for that as well. Well, Twinscapes, we're going to do a lot of the material from the album. Obviously, it's just the 3 of us. It's myself, Lorenzo Feliciati, and Roberto Gualdi on drums. So we don't have the soloists and the guys that are on the album, but it's a lot of the material is sort of open-ended in places. So we can interact with each other, and we can expand certain things, and it's still in its infancy really. I mean, we're still discovering the music, which is kind of exciting. So we have structures that we play around, and we have things that we can build on, things that we can, parts where we can listen to each other and interact and create something different every night. So this is the 4th day or something. We played in London, and initially we just hit it off straight away, just playing together. It's very, yet again, I'm going to overuse the word, a very natural sort of thing. We didn't have a lot of discussion. We didn't sit down and write parts out for each other. It was just like, let's play on this structure. So I'm very happy. The great thing about Twinscapes, it has a good energy to it. I've had a lot of positive comments about it. The guest musicians that we got involved were all really happy to do it, and really positive about it. So when things like that happen, it's really good. On a personal level, it was a funny feeling to me to go to Australia with Porcupine Tree, because I come from Melbourne, and actually I never thought in a million years I would go to Melbourne with Porcupine Tree and we'd play a big theatre and it would sell out. So that felt kind of quite strange. And also doing some of the gigs in London, but that's just a personal thing. I mean, success, you define it in a number of different ways really. Sometimes it's successful just to make something and just to have other people take notice of it. That is success of a kind. And also, you know, just having longevity, having the ability to carry on and keep doing what you're doing is also a form of success, really. It's not necessarily about making money, I mean, that's part of it, but you know, for me personally, I felt successful on the plane to Australia. That's kind of when I thought, oh yeah, you know, because I never thought it was a place that would latch on to Porcupine Tree. I think the music that they tend to listen to over there, certainly in my experience when I was younger, wasn't anything like Porcupine Tree. So the fact that there was an audience on the other side of the world. But there's a few occasions, you know, I mean, playing in London, some of the prestigious venues, you know, was quite meaningful as well, you know. So, but yeah, I mean, I have to say that the success took so long, years and years and years of constant work, that at times it was so gradual that suddenly there's a point where you suddenly realise that, oh, well, actually, this is definitely a step up, but those steps are very small. So, or I shouldn't say very small, but very slow. So there were times when it felt like, I like to use the analogy of being stuck in a car in a traffic jam, and you're moving forward, and you know you're moving forward, but it's so slow. But yes, no, it's interesting to me as well that we haven't done anything now for like 4 years, and there's still a lot of love out there for Porcupine Tree, there's still a lot of interest in it, so that's a good thing. Well, I put it this way, I don't think the band is finished, but there's no timetable on what to do or when to do it. So I have no idea. I have nothing I can tell you about that. And it'd be great. I know that you know, there's a lot of interest in it. You know, so I mean, I get asked about it on a weekly basis. So definitely a lot of people, you know, even surprisingly, people in other parts of the world that we've never been to. Like, I get messages from all sorts of places, South America, Pakistan, Iran, you know, odd places really. So the music's really penetrated, but what's fascinating to me is it's not, the unique thing about Porcupine Tree never had a hit single or you know, mainstream television exposure, or even the music press, the mainstream music press. We never had like big front covers of massive circulation magazines. but it's managed. There's something about the music and the vibe of the band that really appeals to a lot of people from all over the place in different ways, which is, I don't know why that is, you know. I guess if anyone knew why, they would bottle that idea and have something to do with it, but it succeeded against all the odds against all the conventional wisdom and against all the kind of trends. I'm very bad at second guessing what people like anyway. I couldn't say people like this or people like that. I'm always wrong. But it definitely has penetrated into the, you know, it's touched people, for want of a better word, and that's great. It's great to have that happen, because I didn't expect it at first, initially. Anyway. I think if I had all my bases on a boat and it was sinking, the one that I grab is my Roma fretless, which I really like. It's one that I used a lot. If you know Porcupine Tree, you've heard it on Coma Divine or any of the old records. I used to use it exclusively. But more and more, because I've got into doing a lot more recording, I find it's not really about favourites. It's like a craftsman wanting to use a particular tool. You know, it's having something that fits. So I've got a big collection, but they tend to be different. So I have a wood, for example, a hollow body wooden fretless bass, which sounds in between a double bass and a fretless, and it's great for a particular style, particular sound. And I have a really old thing called Novembre from the 1970s, which I don't make anymore. It's with a big piece of foam against the strings, and when you play it's very dead, but it's perfect for some things, you know. So it's more about, less about having a favourite and more about having a range of colours, if you like. A lot of people just think the bass is a bass, but you know, you can do a lot with one. You know, I spent a long time just playing with one, but really the experience of recording and experimenting a lot more, I found certain things definitely suit certain situations. Yeah, no, I mean, it's the perfect hobby for travelling for me, because I arrive somewhere, I don't always know where I'm going to be, or you know, specifically what it's like in any given place. So I like to go for a walk and just take random photographs. And the interesting thing about the fisheye camera, which I love, I didn't bring it with me on this trip, but the great thing about the fisheye camera is that you can take a picture of something really ordinary and very everyday objects, and they come out looking strange. They come out and they just give you a perspective on things. But I have a collection of these plastic cameras. So I have the fisheye, and there's one that takes like a double exposure, and there's one where you can cut the frame in half, and it's just fun, really. I don't have to worry about if I'm any good at it. I just do it. So I kind of enjoy it. And actually, I've discovered that a lot of people like the stuff I do, so I just keep doing it. Just take random photographs. And the interesting thing about the fisheye camera, which I love, I didn't bring it with me on this trip, but the great thing about the fisheye camera is that you can take a picture of something really ordinary and very everyday objects, and they come out looking strange. They come out and they just give you a perspective on things. But I have a collection of these plastic cameras. So I have the fisheye, and there's one that takes like a double exposure, and there's one where you can cut the frame in half, and it's just fun, really. I don't have to worry about if I'm any good at it. I just do it. So I kind of enjoy it. And actually, I've discovered that a lot of people like the stuff I do, so I just keep doing it.